Welcome, Super Smarties! We're back at Mama Dr. Robinson's for another Smarty Party at my house. This is the second lesson on materials that have been loaded by my friends and yours in Paramount Unified School District. Click on their district website, go to Parents, click on Download K2 Instructional Packet, and you will find this sheet. Already done a lesson on this, so now we're doing it on this. It says write numbers from 0 to 20, but they've only given you 11 boxes, so you're only going to be writing to 10 from 0. And when students are at school, what we always do is talk about our objective, our goal for their learning for the lesson. In my class, we use this icon, a bat and a ball. Say, I will bat. When we are through, I will be able to write my numbers from 0 to 20 using correct formation and the correct numerical order. Now how that's going to look on my wall today is like this. So I'm using a kindergarten standard for this, even though I use the preschool learning foundations for transitional kindergarten, but this is a kindergarten packet, so I'm anchoring it to their standard, which is writing 0 to 20. With 0 representing a count of no objects. So we call that the empty set. Later in algebra, that's what you're going to call it. So the red is what we're going to do together. The green is what you need to be able to do when we're finished. And the blue is using your 21st century learning skills, because these standards are designed to help students as they move toward college and careers, college and career readiness. So we will write the numerals with correct formation and in order on a whiteboard, a paper, or a wipe mat using smart charts with number lines and numbers ordered in the count sequence. And this is your part, student. So I can write the numbers on a frame in order from 0 to 20 independently and or with a smart chart for support. I will also be able to use my 21st century skills to critically think. One of your very important skills, probably the most important skill is thinking, but then also to communicate. So that's our objective. I'm not going to leave it posted because I don't really have room. All right, so today what we're looking at is numbers. So what I want to start with is either on a plain piece of paper or on the back of this paper if you printed it out, or on a whiteboard or a wipe mat. This is a wipe mat. It's called a wipe mat because you can wipe it off. And I had talked in one of my videos about how you could use a pan. Here's a pan. What's important about a pan, and if you're going to use a sheet protector instead of using a wipe mat, is that when you're all finished, wipe it all off immediately, because sometimes the marker stains and then it leaves a memory of what you did on another day, and that scar is hard to not see. Just like on your skin when you get a scar and it stays there, that happens on surfaces too. So what we're going to do is I'm going to use this board and I'm going to invite you to write the numbers. And I brought my handy dandy little bag of numbers, teacher bag. It's a mystery bag. Oh, what's in the busy brain bag? Oh, what's in the busy brain bag? Oh, what can it be? I already told you. Let's open it and see. Oh, what's in the busy brain bag? It's not a box, rocks. I already told you it's numbers. So I'm taking out the first one. Now, my set of touch and feel numbers didn't have a 0, so I had to mask the digit in the tens place, so all you see is the 0. All right, so this is the first in the count sequence. It's the empty set, and it's 0. So here's the rule for 0. Fly left, so let's mark the board. Left, L, and R for right. So we're going to start at the left, and we're going to go from left to right when we write our numerals, but we're also using these as the indicators for which directions you're going to write when you're constructing the numbers. Remember, you don't want to draw the numbers. You're not trying to connect them so they look like this shape. What you're trying to do is write them. So they are this shape when you're finished, but you've actually written them, not drawn them. Fly Let me pop the top. Please don't stop. Please snap the cap into its trap. I don't want to lose that or it'll dry out. Fly left around the world like a superhero. That makes 0. And 0 is not nothing. It's just the empty set. It's what helps us jump every decade. So we really need 0. Now, the next number in the count sequence is in my busy brain bag. Teachers have all kinds of tricks. It is, can you tell? Do you know? Do you know? Did you say 1? I bet you did. Okay. I'm going to put a little space here. A straight line down is fun. That's 1. What comes next? I hope they're in order in the bag. Guess I need to look for the apple. 2. Now we're going to go to the right. Loop around to the right. At a left angle, come down. A line right across the bottom will do. That makes 2. And then comes 3. Go right around the tree, right around the tree. That makes 3. And then comes 4. Down and over right. Looks like a capital L. And down some more. Looks like a lowercase l. That makes 4. And then 5. Now some people make 5 going down and around with a cap on the top. I don't make it that way. If that's how you make it, there's nothing wrong with it. But I make my 5s in a continuous stroke because it's easier to make sure they're connected. Plus, it looks like the structure of a square when I do it that way, and then a circle on the bottom, so it's just easier. There isn't a wrong way, but this is how I'm going to do it, and you can just, la 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 la, I can't hear you, blah 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 blah. But if you're writing it with me, this is how I do it. Across left and down, loop right around. That is how we jive when we make a 5. And what comes next? Yes, a 6. At a left angle, come down. This is an angle. Loop right around. That is how we get our kicks when we make a 6. Now I don't really have a lot of room here, so I'm going to sweep back. I'm going to erase this 5 because I still have a few more digits that I need to add. So let's count what we have so far. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now all of these are digits. These are digits too. They're also called numerals. They're also called numbers. But every number is made of a combination of digits, so we have to know all 10 digits. Starting with 0, going in the count sequence up to the last single digit. So we have a few more, so after 6 comes, I think you already said it because you know it. 7. Fly right across the sky and at a left angle down from heaven. That makes 7. What comes next? 8. Now, sometimes people make an 8 like this. A circle on top and a circle on the bottom. But technically that's drawing, not writing. And so I'm not going to do it that way. Sometimes I do it that way. But I'd like you to write it, not draw it. So we're going to make an S down through the garden. S is super tricky, so if it's spatially, that means hard to see how it works on the board with your hand and your brain and your eyes all working together. Just practice, practice, practice. You'll get it. Just keep working. Work hard. You'll get it. Make an S down through the garden and then go back through the gate. That makes 8. I made it really big. Correct structure. Not worried about size right now. Next comes, we're not going to go all the way to 20 because our paper didn't do it on making right now. We're just going to go through the first 9 digits. 9. Sometimes when you see a 9, it looks like this. Kind of looks like a G. Text 9. We're not making it that way. We're going to use circle and stick. Ready? Make a loop to the left. On the right, add a line. That makes 9. Now, inside my bag is another number, but there are no more digits. Dun, dun, dun! Pull up your pants and put on your belt. That's so confusing. It is and it isn't. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use these numerals to make the numbers to 10. So I'm going to, rather than leave these up here, I'm going to use a chart. So I brought some charts, and there aren't charts loaded on Paramount's website, so you have to go on the internet unless you have one at home from your school. They're easy to find. The challenge with them, though, often is they're missing 0. So on this chart, I need to put 0, and I'm going to put 0 right here, as if there's another box. Now this is going in groups of 10, so 0 technically should probably be over here. I'm putting it here, though, because we're writing to 10 on our paper from Paramount. You're going to write higher than that. We'll write it on the board. I also have what's called a number line hotel. Now, because it's a hotel, the numbers aren't coming down, they're going up to show that they get bigger. So it's, you enter the hotel and you go from 0. In this hotel, you go to 9, and then you sweep up, 10 to 19, sweep up, 20 to 29. So it's showing each decade from the first number in the decade to the last number in the decade. When it jumps up to the next decade, it jumps up to the next level, the next story, the next floor of the hotel. So I like this because it's another way to see number. They're not wrong. This I liked because it's number cards, so they're really big. But look at this. I didn't write the 4 that way. This is called text 4. And this is that funny 9 I said that kind of sometimes looks like a G. It confuses kids. Or it looks like an upside down 6. All the other digits are how I typically make them. But you do need to see and understand that that's 4. That's not how I want you to make it. My son did that when he was in school because in 3rd grade he saw it and he liked it. And how that's done is like a triangle. So it's an angle, one angle like part of a triangle, and then a line down. It looks kind of neat, and it's not wrong. It's just not how we're doing it because we're making straight lines. So now I'm going to erase that, and I'm going to use my support material because I'm only going to 10 on the paper from Paramount. I also did a tens chart that has kind of a number line but also has images representing it, kind of like almost like Legos, but not entirely. And what they have is a little open space representing all of the digits value. So if this is do you remember what it's called? 7? Right. So you see how many open spaces or little white dots, white circles? 7. 6 and 1 more is 7. So this is just another reference. And there's nothing magical about it. This is a typical number line that goes 0 to 20 and then sweeps back. And I like how this one had 0. So while the numbers are very small on here, I like how it has 0 all the way to 20, which is what the standard is. So you want to write higher than 10. And you can either print this out 2 times and then cut this box off and put it underneath, or do it on another piece of paper. And we're going to write the numbers in the frame. This is something you're going to do at home. I'm going to make one up here. So I am going to bring a handy frame. Now this in math is a tool that we call a tens frame. Looks crooked a little bit right there. That looks a little more straight. So it's a tens frame. But I'm not using it as a tens frame. I'm just using it as a space holder so it looks like what you're going to transfer your numbers to. And then I'm going to put a second one up. And I actually could put a third one up. And then we can start with 0. Very handy. So now I'm going to write the numbers. So I'm going to start here with 0. out of left. Fly left around the world like a superhero. That makes 0. Then I'm going to sweep back, and we're going to do a straight line down is fun. That's 1. Then loop around to the right at a left angle, come down, a line right across the bottom will do. That makes 2. Then 0, 1, 2, go right around the tree, right around the tree. That makes 3. Then down and over right, and down some more. That makes 4. What comes next? 5. Across left and down, loop right around. That is how we jive when we make a 5. Now we're going to sweep back. What comes next? At a left angle, come down, loop right around. That is how we get our kicks when we make a 6. What comes next? Fly right across the sky and at a left angle, down from heaven. That makes 7. What comes next? Make an S down through the garden and then go back through the gate. That makes 8. Now this is the last single digit, numeral, and number. Then we're going to have to figure out what we're going to do next when we run out of numerals. It's 9. Do you remember what it was? Make a loop to the left, on the right out of line. That makes 9. Kind of looks like the letter A with a line that goes down. Or a Q if you put a little kickstand up. Okay, so we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now technically our pattern is 0 and a 0, 0 and a 1, 0 and a 2, 0 and a 3, 0 and a 4, 0 and a 5, 0 and a 6, 0 and a 7, 0 and an 8, 0 and a 9. Remember, because 0 is the first in the count sequence, holding a place as the empty set. What's going to come next? This is where it gets a little confusing. We're out of single digits, so the 9 has to go back to a 0, and it's in the ones place, so I'm going to put a 0 in the ones place. And now, where there was a 0, because technically it was 0 and a 9, the 9 is going to go to down, it's going to go back to a 0. 0 is going to go up to a 1, so I'm going to put a 1 in the tens place. Now we're going to look for a pattern, because even though this has a name of 10, if you follow the pattern, it will be easier to remember what comes next in the count sequence when you're writing. And when you're speaking, you're not going to say the pattern, but when you're writing, you want to think the pattern. All of these have a 0 in the single digit. Now we're at 1 and a 0. So as I sweep back, what would come next? 1 and a 0, 1 and a 1. 1 and a 0, 1 and a 1, 1 and a 2. 1 and a 2, 1 and a 3. 1 and a 3, 1 and a 4. 1 and a 4, 1 and a 5. 1 and a 0, 1 and a 1, 1 and a 2, 1 and a 3, 1 and a 4, 1 and a 5. What comes next? We sweep back, 1 and a 6. See how the pattern is continuing? What comes next? 1 and a 7. What comes next? 1 in the tens place, 8 in the ones place. What comes next? 1 in the tens place, 9 in the ones place. Uh-oh, we're all out of single digit numerals in the ones place. What are we going to do next? The 9 goes back to a 0, but now the 1 has to go up 1 to a 2. So now we're going to put a 2 in the tens place, a 0 in the ones place. If we were going to continue writing, we could just keep doing our pattern. 2 and a 0, 2 in the tens place, 1 in the ones place. 2 in the tens place, 2 in the ones place. 2 in the tens place, 3 in the ones place. 2 in the tens place, 4 in the ones place. 2 in the tens place, 5 in the ones place. 2 and a 0, 2 and a 1, 2 and a 2, 2 and a 3, 2 and a 4, 2 and a 5, 2 and a 6, 2 and a 7, 2 and an 8, 2 and a 9. And then what happens? We have to do what? The 9 goes back to a 0, and the 2 has to go up 1 more to a 2 and 1 more is 3. That's how you can figure out how to write what comes next. So even if you get confused and in your counting brain, if you were to say it out loud, you can't remember what number comes next, you can look for the pattern. It's very reliable. For kindergarten, the expectation is that you only have to be able to write to 20, but you have to be able to count aloud to 100. And once you crack the code of the pattern, you've got it. So there's no reason not to just go ahead. So on your paper from Paramount, this is what they're going to have you do. Only it's going to be structured a little bit different. On your own paper, you can do this on the back. Someone can make a frame for you, or you can just write. But their frame is going to look like this. So how I wrote the numbers there, unless you flip it over, your last digit is going to come here because it's not a tens frame. It's just a frame. So when you write, you're going to start with the digit of 0, and then you're going to continue all the way across until you get to 10. And they're not going to have these extra boxes. So your last one will be in this box. So it's not a tens frame. Just a different structure, different style. So that's insight into it. Now, how can you stretch this? Let me show you. So if you have some objects, you can make this kind of a frame. And we're just going to do within 10 because this takes us to another standard. I have this frame, but you can, and it's magnetic, and you maybe don't have this at your house, but you don't need this at your house. You could just use cereal instead. So what you can do is you can make cards like what I made, or I didn't make these. You can make cards though at home, out of just paper, scraps. You can put them in a bag or a hat or something that you can reach into. Maybe you have your, when you went trick-or-treating, you still have your little pail from that. So you can just mix them up and put them inside, and then you can magically pick one, and then you have to write to that many. So it's 2, so now I have to write 0, 1, 2. And then erase it. Then pick another one. Oh, 9. And then I have to write 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's one way to extend the learning. Another way is to pick the numbers and then show it. It's not the same standard of writing, but you can pick a number and show it, or your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, someone bigger, smaller, can lay some out, and then you have to count them and try writing that number, because this is the same as, equals means the same as, this is the same as this. 1, 2, 3. Go right around the tree, right around the tree. That makes 3. So that's another way that you can extend this lesson and take it a little bit further. You can pick a number, and let's just say, oh, let me pick another number in here. I have to write to 3. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to use kisses underneath them to show that many. So here's 1, here's 2, 1, 2, here's 1, here's 2, here's 3. So it's another way to extend this learning. So this little paper can be stretched and stretched and stretched out. Stretch out the learning. Get some traction action. So this is how you can take this lesson a little bit further. Well, that's all we have for today on this. It was wonderful spending time with you. So here's some pride. Put it inside. Feels good, right? Here's some love. Teacher love, because you're missing that every single day you're not in a classroom. Save that for later. And until we see each other again, or until you're released from house arrest and get to go back to school, Super Teacher says